Vikings Faith Ministries. This is Dwight Mutonono taking you through the devotions on leadership development, and we're learning lessons from Joseph's life. We are now on session 3, and we've talked about the background, and we've talked about the time that Joseph was sold into slavery and the time that he was in prison. This was the time of Joseph's pain. But now we want to talk about the time of exaltation, the time when Joseph is lifted up. Let's quickly read the portion of scripture here. I want to read Genesis 41, verse 40 to 45. You shall be over my house, and all my people shall order themselves as you command. Only as regards the throne will I be greater than you. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, See, I've set you over all the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh took his signet ring from his hand and put it on Joseph's hand, and clothed him in garments of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck. And he made him ride in his second chariot, and they called out before him, Bow the knee. Thus he set him over all the land of Egypt. Moreover, Pharaoh said to Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without your consent no one shall lift up hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphenath-Paneah, and he gave him in marriage Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On. So Joseph went out over the land of Egypt. This is an incredible portion of scripture. Take time to really think through and maybe list down some of the benefits or some of the things that Joseph was given by Pharaoh. So, just to mention a few, he is over the whole house of Pharaoh. He is over the whole kingdom. He is made king, is second to Pharaoh, and the only thing that he cannot do is to take the throne of Pharaoh. Everyone was to bow their knee as they saw him. So somebody would call out in front of him, bow the knee, as he just approached. He had a chariot. He had the second chariot in Egypt. And then he was given a wife, and so on. So we find Joseph here is a man who has absolute power in Egypt. And somehow, in one day, Joseph is exalted far above anything that he had imagined. And the gift that he had is acknowledged, and he is received as a leader. Suddenly, the pain, the slavery, the imprisonment, suddenly things just turn around, and he is on the throne. He is second to Pharaoh. You see, it's important to appreciate something here, that it was 14 years later, 14 years of pain, 14 years of confusion, 14 years of not understanding what's going on, 14 years in which he was just holding on to God in the midst of all this that was going on around him. And as that happened, God was actually processing him and changing him to become the kind of person who would be able to handle the kind of power that he was going to give him. You see, when you have become a slave and when you have become a prisoner, you have become the lowest of the lowest. You have been humbled. You've been humiliated. In fact, nothing gets to your head anymore. And the time of exaltation for Joseph was after the time of preparation, so that when he is given this kind of power, he was able to then handle it. So when you are given power, and when God places you into high leadership position, my prayer is that God would have processed you and prepared you for that. Many people want to run and push themselves into positions of power, but they have not been processed by the Lord. And those positions actually become a place of destruction. My friend, don't push yourself into places that God has not prepared you for. Allow God to work through you. Submit to God. Work through the pain. Work through the difficult situations, and you will find that by the time you get out of it, God has changed you and made you into what He wants you to become.